speaking of West Virginia, we go to a winner from West Virginia. Lissa Lucas joins us. Lissa, great to have you here.
Hi, great to be here.
Now, Lissa, we do have to be honest with our audience. Your victory was a little bit easier because you were unopposed.
Yeah, for sure. My contest will be in November.
Yes. On the other hand, apparently you're such a strong candidate, you ran everyone else out of town. They're too afraid to go up against you.
Well, I don't know how many people are in town in Ritchie County. There aren't that many Democrats out here.
Well, I love your honesty. And tell us your campaign slogan again.
It's holler from the hollers.
Holler from the hollers. You're not going to beat that one. You're not. Don't even try. So talk to us about your race in the general election. Now that you're past the primary, no one jumped in, you won the race. And if people don't remember, Lissa is the one that rose up in a committee hearing and started reading the names of the donors of the politicians, and they cut her mic and kicked her out. But by the way, I always call it a committee hearing. Lissa, what was it that you attended?
It was a public hearing in front of the Judiciary Committee for the House of Delegates.
And what was the issue?
Corporations wanted to steal property rights from West Virginia, tax-paying West Virginia mineral owners. And they did. They voted to allow that.
And of course, the politicians were offended because you were pointing out their corruption. But you weren't. All you were doing was reading their donors. Shouldn't they be proud?
If they're taking the money, they shouldn't be offended that those names are, that they're confronted with those names.
Yeah.
But
So if you're
they
gonna
don't like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're going to be embarrassed by taking someone's money, then don't. So it's that simple. Anyway, what was that?
I said that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that's right. So Lissa, I want to talk about your general election. That's why we have you on again. It seems to me that fighting for property rights could do really well in an area that's, even if it's really conservative. Isn't that a position that conservatives totally agree with?
It is. It's in the West Virginia Republican Party's platform to protect property rights. So yeah, there are a lot of Republicans here. There were even Republican candidates who wrote me and said that they were glad that I was standing up like this. So I think that if I don't win, that I certainly have the opportunity to push my opponent, because what I'd like to see, honestly, is, the people out here are generally conservative, and that's fine. So get someone who's representing the conservative point of view of the people, not this corporate point of view, because we have in West Virginia Democrats who are corporate owned, like Joe Manchin, and we have Republicans who are corporate owned. And what happens is the needs of the people, and we've seen the studies, of course, the needs of the people are never really addressed unless they happen to be in conjunction with the needs of corporations, in which case then maybe we see some progress. But if it's something that goes against the corporate interests, it just gets worse and worse for people out here.
You know what, Lissa? I mean, look, you're as real as a heart attack, and so you're saying, hey, it's a conservative district, and I'm going to push them, et cetera. But that non-corporate message, or even an anti-corporate message, I think West Virginians might love that.
We're pretty populist. I mean, you've probably followed Ojeda's campaign, and he's loved here for a reason. And he's someone who, I don't agree with him on everything, but he doesn't take that money, and he will genuinely, he would fight to the death to do what he thinks is the right thing.
Yeah.
Regardless of what kind of money's going on.
So, well, we had him on the show right before you, so and that's right. And he's got the same kind of anti-corporate position, because politicians are supposed to be representatives, not of corporations, of actual human beings, the constituents, the people who live in their district. So, and even the tweet that John read earlier in the show about Blankenship, where the guy said, "Hey, 3 of my cousins died in that mine disaster, but I'm going to vote for Blankenship because at least he's an honest crook." And now I don't agree with that, and that's crazy and all that.
Yeah.
But there's a real incredible thirst in a place like West Virginia for someone real, as opposed to some corporate hack. I think you definitely have a fighter's chance because of that alone. So who's your Republican opponent there?
He's very nice. His name is Jason Harshbarger. My issue is that he takes that money and then he votes on the bills. And so my thing is really that, I think we get too caught up in trying to determine what the tit for tat is and trying to, connect the dots and determine who's changed their votes. And I think that's kind of beside the point, because the point to me is that no one should have to ever worry about that. We should avoid even the appearance of impropriety. That's enough to break our democracy. And what we have right now is a bunch of people who don't trust our government at all. And so therefore, you hear news and you hear something on one side and you hear something on the other side, and you don't know who to trust. And that's kind of where people are out here, because we've seen so much. We pay a lot for the gas that this country uses. We bear a disproportionate amount of costs for that extraction and for coal extraction. And we're tired, man. We just want clean water, and we want neighborhoods that aren't being invaded. So we're tired.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I loved and a couple of things that I didn't love in what you just said. One, again, I love how real you are. I mean, who can you trust? Someone who says, "My opponent's really nice." I've never heard that before. So bless your heart for saying that.
He is. Okay. He's a nice guy. I'm sure, he thinks he's doing the right thing. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt until I can't think of a way to do that anymore.
Yeah, and look, guys, corporations are not necessarily bad by their nature, but we cannot they're amoral. They're not immoral. They're not they're not moral, which is a preposterous thing. They're amoral. They're machines. They're legal fictions. They're not humans. They don't have morality. Their job is to maximize profit. So it's not to kill off the corporations. No, it's just to make the representatives corporate free, right? So Lissa's corporate free and her opponent is not. So if someone's not corporate free, you can't trust them, because even if they seem nice today, when they get the donation, they're going to be inclined and incentivized to vote with the corporation. That's why you got to be free of those shackles.
Well, this whole idea that we get business people in government to run government like a business is problematic to me, because a business is run essentially to make profit, to make money. And a government can't be run that way. A government needs to look out for people's rights. Because if we're just in it for profit, we have what we have right now, which is a huge income gap. We have people at the very top who are making that profit and benefiting from being in this country. And then we have all these people at the bottom who are getting trodden upon.
Yeah.
So I don't want to see our government run like a business. I want to see it run constitutionally.
So Lissa, look, I love that you're running for House of Delegates. I think you should run for Congress one day. I really do.
No way.
Okay.
Oh my God. How awful would that be? I can barely deal with the House of Delegates thing. Yeah. At least I'll stay in West Virginia if I get elected.
Oh my God, I can't take how earnest you are. Okay, you're amazing. Okay, look, but the part that kind of was heartbreaking was when you see you're running for clean water, and Paul Jean says the same thing, right? How bad off, and Jetta just, in the conversation we had, we're West Virginia obsessed here on the Young Turks. Ojeda
I
was
love that. Thank you.
Ojeda was talking about how he comes back and in his own backyard, families are worse off than they were in Iraq and Afghanistan where he was fighting. And at least there, he said the family members were sticking up for each other. And here, folks are unfortunately hooked on drugs, and you got the pollution, you got this, you got that. Jesus Christ, we're in the United States of America, the richest country in the world, and I've got candidates running nonstop in Michigan and West Virginia, et cetera, for clean water, just to be able to drink clean water. What have we become?
I don't have potable water in my house either. And it's mind-boggling to me that we can be, I'm 5 or so hours from Washington, D.C. if I were to hop in the car.
Yeah, it's unreal.
And I don't have clean water, and there's no prospect of clean water. Now, it's different. I can go to the grocery store and I can pick up a gallon of water, but with the amount of money that we spend in aid for other people to get clean water, it feels like some of that attention could be focused on Washington, D.C.'s backyard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I'm not trying to say we don't need to help other people, but I'm saying this is why people are upset to hear the amount of effort that we go to in other places. And yet, there are people in my district who have been 7 years without water, and the town has tried 3 different times just to take that water pipe, an extra few hundred feet to reach them so they don't have to boil water on their stove in order to shower. And that's what's going on in my district.
Look,
that's why I'm running.
Look, I think we're going to turn places like West Virginia and Kentucky blue. And I know that, again, conventional wisdom, mainstream media, et cetera, are super skeptical of that. They think that's hilarious. And I understand why they think that. Trump won West Virginia by 45 points. But what they were voting against was the establishment. And there is no politician in the country who is more establishment than Hillary Clinton. Maybe Jeb Bush, but even then, not, right? So, and I think that if we run uncorrupted, corporate-free, populist progressives in places like West Virginia, Lissa, at some point you're going to win. Ojeda's going to win, and I think we're going to turn the whole state blue. You just got to hang in there and make sure that you stick to what you believe in and you stick to representing the people. So, Godspeed to you, and holler as loud as you possibly can from those hollers. All right?
I will do that. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, remember the links to help Lissa is always down below in the description box on YouTube and Facebook. Donate, volunteer, get in the fight in any way that you can. Lissa Lucas, American hero, reporting for West Virginia. Thank you.
Thank you.